Tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to today's Mental Health Awareness Week Kōrero session. I'm Gina Nonomalo, the Head of Delivery at Ignite Aotearoa, and it's great that you could join us today for this kōrero as we support the Mental Health Awareness Week kaupapa of Take Time to Kōrero. A little chat can go a long way. Joining me for today's chat is Lyncia Podmore. Lyncia is a coach through the Ignite platform, and she's going to be talking to us today around resilience and change. Good morning, Lyncia. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Gina. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm Lyncia. I've got a coaching practice. I'm based in Wellington. I'm originally from Taranaki, from Pātea. I've been coaching now for probably 30 years in different guises. I'm a mother of 4, a grandmother. I've been in Wellington now for probably 40 years, and it's a beautiful Wellington sunshiny day. Maybe a little bit of a nip in the air, but yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks, Lyncia. I used to live in Wellington too. It is a beautiful place to live.
Yeah.
How did you get interested in coaching, Lyncia?
Well, actually, this is something that I do with clients quite often when they're not too sure, kind of what they might want to do next. It's just a little tool that I use. It's very sophisticated. You get a piece of paper and you divide it in half, and you write down on one side of the paper anything about any job or role that you've had that you really like. And on the other side, you write anything about any job or role that you don't mind if you don't have to do that again. So it's not what you hate, it's just you wouldn't mind if someone else picked it up. And I use that over and over again. And I did it on myself quite a long time ago. And I realized that a large chunk of what I really liked about the work that I had done up to that point was engaging with people in a coaching capacity. Now, I used to be in financial services years ago, so you do that even in that environment. So, whether it's coaching about financial health or coaching about other issues that people bring to you, their personal issues that have money linked to them, and I realized that's what I really like. So I sought out a coaching program, and it's kind of grown from there. I've done several since, but yeah, that's how it started.
Nice. I really like that idea that it sort of grew from your own experience, and yeah. Lyncia, we titled this chat today, Coping with Life, Resilience and Change.
Yeah.
And it seems quite a relevant topic right now, as we've all had a lot of change to cope with as a result of COVID. What are the things that you've noticed people are struggling with at the moment?
I think loneliness, separation from their families, uncertainty about the future of work, feeling a little bit inadequate about their ability to do their job well, because maybe they're working from a laptop in their bedroom, or they don't have their colleagues around them that they normally would have easy access to. Being with some people too much. So much as we love our families, we have breaks from them. We've got people who are trying to homeschool children, do their jobs. We've got kids who are getting, who are lonely for people to play with. Not that, that I coach children or have much to do with children, but that's an issue that, some of my clients have got. They notice that their children are becoming more difficult or fearful, all sorts of things. But I think if you kind of had if I had one word that kind of partially anyway captured everything else, it would be loneliness. I think there's a real isolation issue.
Yeah, there's a lot, isn't there? There's a lot of things that you've just mentioned there, and
fatigue. Actually, I think people are tired.
Yeah, I came across a term last week, which was change as usual. And I kind of feel like we're all experiencing that at the moment.
Yeah.
That, life has changed quite significantly in the last sort of 18 months or so, and that's probably going to continue for a little while.
I think too, we shouldn't underestimate our ability to change. We change all the time, but we take no notice because we have all our other support structures around us. So, every day you get up, something's different. You go to work, you might have a new work colleague, or you might have a new way of having to do something. And we don't stop and think, oh my God, there's significant change in my environment. We just take all that on board because everything else that supports us to accommodate change is around us. We know our kids are at school. We know that we've got a rough idea about what our control is over our work environment. We know that you're going to be taking a trip to see your mother who lives in Brisbane, or that you're not concerned about. Here's a simple thing. I went to get a blood test this morning, and normally you'd think, oh, half an hour is long enough to do that. Well, by the time you queue outside, and it's like, that's just another thing on top of your day. In the end, I decided that I didn't have enough time to do that. But so these are all little things that mount up, and normally they don't happen. But if they do happen, if something like that were to happen, I'd go back into my shared workspace or back into whatever and say, have a little moan and get on with it, but we don't, for a lot of people now, that's just not open to them. And I think it's this cumulative adding of little stressors that are causing the issue.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things you said there, Lyncia, that I picked up on. And one was that pointing out that we all actually encounter and manage change on a daily basis.
Very well.
So taking that strength-based approach and acknowledging the abilities that we do have to manage change are quite important.
Yeah.
What are some of the strategies that you find are most effective for coping with some of the difficulties that people might be encountering at the moment?
I think taking stock of the situation and working out what's important now. So, for instance, this morning, I had another appointment after I had decided to go to have the blood test. I thought, well, actually, it's not worth adding this level of complexity on here. So I changed my goals, right? My goal was to have a blood test and go to the other appointment. I just changed it. So it's not, it's not a big deal. So I think it's setting realistic goals for yourself, things that you can actually achieve. I think that's really, really important, is introducing, stepping back and saying, well, okay, the playing field's changed a wee bit. What's actually possible for me to achieve, today or this week or whatever the time frame is? Or if you give me a job to do, and it's going to be a slower process getting that done because I'm homeschooling kids or whatever. Or queuing at the supermarket trip might take longer than is normal. Stepping back and saying, actually, I'm in a different space now. Let me work out what's realistic for me to achieve now. So you can kind of, if you are disappointed by that, you can be disappointed early and get over it and not angry later. I think sometimes we get into that phase of getting angry. I think there's that. I think it's setting realistic goals for yourself. Some of it is looking after yourself, trying to eat well, go for your walks, whatever it is, do your yoga, whatever it is, that read a book, doesn't matter, whatever it is that helps you to feel good physically and mentally. But I think one of the biggest things that we need to try and do is stay connected to other people, because I don't think people, even people who are quite introverted, I think during this time have realized that they do actually get something from those other relationships, and that they bolster them up a little bit and keep them going. So I think maintaining relationships, getting on the phone, getting on Zoom, whatever it is, we need to keep doing. Talking to our neighbours, something that involves someone outside of your own little bubble. Yeah.
I think that's great advice, Lyncia, especially when you talked about the fact that loneliness is one of the sort of key struggles that some people are having right now.
Yeah, and you can be lonely in a group, so you can be lonely for your book club friends, or your sporting friend, whatever. You can be lonely in your own family. Yeah, and you shouldn't feel bad about that. You just, our lives are quite full, and if we have full and interesting lives, when you take away those things on that are the periphery of it, it leaves quite a big void.
Yeah. Are there some things that you see, some habits that you've seen people develop, Lyncia, in a bid to cope with change or stress?
I think exercise is one of them. How many people do you know now walking around with their gym app on their phone so that they can join a class, so they feel as though that they're doing something for themselves? I think there's a lot of people out trying to be active, and I think I don't have young children at home myself that I'm schooling, but I think there's been quite a big message go out to people, to young parents to say, just do what you can do. If today's lesson is how to bake biscuits, well, that's fine too. Be realistic about what you can achieve in a day. A few months off a 7-year-old's formal education probably will have more impact on their social development than their intellectual, their academic achievements at the end of the day. So, baking biscuits is a good thing to do. And I think the most important thing is that children, especially, well, not just children, but particularly children, I think, need to be in an environment where, or thrive better in an environment where there's seemingly less stress. So I'm not saying hide your stress, but try and make your life as devoid of stress as possible. The kind of stress that causes upset anyway, not the kind of positive stress. But yeah, so doing what you can, I think sending that message out, doing what you can. I think a lot of people, who knew the word Zoom until recently? I think a lot of people have really got on board with technology to fill that gap with their friends, Facebook Messenger, all of those kinds of things. Now there's groups that people have formed amongst themselves to keep, and jokes flowing, or anecdotes about their families or whatever, to keep connected. I think that's a really big thing, is being connected with someone else and enjoying other people's accomplishments or happiness, or whatever. Enjoying those things.
That's some great advice, Lyncia. One of the things I was going to ask you about, which you've touched on a little bit, is what advice would you have for those of us that might have maybe developed some less helpful habits during lockdown, maybe have been baking too much bread and eating it, or not getting out.
That's the issue, isn't it? Yeah. I know the first lockdown I spent in yoga tights and thought I was doing quite well because I did so much walking, but it seems all that sourdough has an effect after a while. You don't notice it in stretchy pants. Look, it's really easy to do things that are immediate, that give us immediate relief, like, have another coffee, start drinking wine at 2:00 in the afternoon instead of 5:00, smoke too many cigarettes, or just not do the things that we should do, that the normal personal hygiene things, even where you get into that kind of habit of, I don't have to go anywhere, so I don't have to make an effort. So I think it's taking a step back and saying, and recognizing that you're doing it in the first place. That's the very first place to start. It's really easy to be critical of yourself, but you need to stand back and be able to say, oh, look, it appears I'm doing this. That's not who I want to be. That's not who I am. So I can tweak that. So it's being in control. But I don't think a lot of people sometimes don't step back and do what we call a current reality check. What is my current reality? Oh, look, I've smoked 2 packets of cigarettes today. I normally only smoke 1. Or or I don't normally have a drink before. I normally only have a drink with dinner, and look, look at the recycling bin. This is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. So it's like, take that reality check and make a decision, or make an assessment of where you are, and lay that alongside of who you want to be. Who do you see yourself as being? I'm not the person that drinks at 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm not the person that yells at my significant other or the kids. I'm not the person that watches Netflix at 2:00. And if you don't normally watch Netflix at 2:00 on a sunny afternoon, why are you doing it now? I mean, the outside's still there. We're still able to get to it. So I think it's checking in on yourself to see where you're actually up to, and saying, that's not what I want for myself. And then if you're having trouble changing, share that you want to change with someone else. Because it's the first thing I think to do is once you've done this current reality thing, the next step is don't be too hard on yourself. These are different times. And we have to learn what to do. Okay, we're in a new situation. We have to learn, and whenever we're learning something new, whenever change happens, the chances are we'll make a mistake. And this is where I think sometimes our ability to cope with change and to be resilient is derailed, if you like, because we live such protected lives now that we can be overcautious because we don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to be seen to be the person that made a mistake. Well, if you're not making a mistake, you're taking up too much room, really. You're not trying hard enough. If we try, we will make a mistake. And it's being confident enough in yourself and in what you believe in to say, actually, that was a mistake. I spent a whole week smoking all those cigarettes, or I, was really grumpy today and took it out on the family. That was wrong. I'm going to change that. Here goes. Yeah. But that's going to go wrong, it goes wrong. We've just got to recognize it and choose to be different.
I think, Lyncia, that leads quite nicely to something I wanted to ask you, which is, do people always have to be trying to improve their resilience? Is doing nothing an option?
Doing nothing's always an option.
Is it a good option?
Yeah. So, and sometimes it's a really good option. I'm a little bit sick of. Here's me putting myself right out there now. Sorry to offend anyone who's. I get a bit sick of. You need to be your best self, and this best version of myself. I think what we want to be able to tell people is that whoever you are today, whoever you bring, whoever you are today is who you are. And if you're feeling really resilient and prepared to take on new and exciting things, well, that's great. Today's the day to do it. If you're not, then don't. We don't have to be on a self-improvement journey every moment of our lives. And I think the reason why oftentimes we're not content with our lives is because we're so busy thinking that we need to be better. I firmly believe that you can only improve or grow, if I think that's probably a fairly common phrase, grow personally, if you're prepared to say to yourself, actually, you know what, I quite like where I'm at. I've got a little bookmark that I saw this quote and I had it made into bookmarks, and it says, learn to like what you already have. So just learn to like where you are, learn to like how you go about things, learn to like or love your relationships with other people, and from that point grow, not from a point of dissatisfaction. I think there's so many people picking holes in their lives or themselves that they're continually frustrated. And I think if you can learn to like your life, to enjoy the relationships that you have, even if they're frustrating, enjoy the frustration of them and move it from there. Don't start from, oh gosh, I hate this and I must change it. Yeah.
I think that's fantastic advice, Lyncia. Thank you for that. I totally agree with what you're saying. I guess, are there any last sort of takeaway messages that you would like to share in terms of things maybe that people can do to, if they're feeling like they might be struggling with some of the changes or things that they're encountering right now? Any quick tips?
I think a lot of this is about like these things that happen that we believe because they're in our head, and there's these things that we believe because they're true. Like, I have no friends may or may not be true, but what happens in here, what I'm saying to myself, is often not true. So question what you say to yourself, try and turn that around to have a more positive outlook or frame. I think look for things to enjoy. If you're struggling, go and do something that you like to do. Stop doing the thing that you're not enjoying at the moment and go and do something else. And if that's cooking dinner, get either someone else to do it or have eggs on toast. It doesn't matter. No one died from having eggs on toast for dinner. But trying to be a little bit gentle with yourself, I think, while at the same time pushing yourself to realize that people talk about bouncing back from adversity, that resilience is about bouncing back. And I read somewhere recently, and I can't remember what it was, and I think this is a much better terminology, is that when bad stuff happens, resilience is really about bouncing forward. So we don't end up in the same place that we were before change happened. We end up somewhere more advanced. And every time you go through change or struggle, something else gets added to your toolbox because you're still there and you're managing it. So you've actually moved forward. And so it's not just a matter of about bouncing back. It's about learning new skills as you go through. I think even if you're in a situation that you're finding it tough, stop and say, what am I learning here? What do I know about myself? And even that, putting yourself in the center of it and taking a little bit of control over it can make you feel a lot better.
Thank you, Lyncia. Some great words of wisdom there.